That's perfect. Good. Yeah, Christina, that one, yeah. Everybody ready?
Yeah, we are.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dean Polytopoulos. I'm the Public Information Officer of the Yonkers Police Department. I'm joined today by, of course, Mayor Mike Spano, Police Commissioner Chris Sapienza, our elected officials here are Legislator Jimmy Nolan and Councilwoman Corazon Pineda-Isaac. We also have representatives from Motorola Solutions here, including Vice President Dave White, and of course our Deputy Chiefs, Monica Rice and Campanini. Today we're going to be announcing the unveiling of the Motorola Aware Room. I'm going to kick it off to Mayor Mike Spano to start the press conference. Then Commissioner Sapienza will speak, and then Mr. White will speak, and then I'll follow up with a demonstration of the equipment and walk you through what we're doing in the room here today. All right, so Mayor Spano.
Thank you. And so with our police commissioner who's here today, members of the city council who I work with on a regular basis, Jimmy Nolan, who is kind of like legislator, but he might as well be part of our team too. He's at every press conference we have. Right. Our friends from Motorola that are here, and that's very much a part of this big success. Today is not just an investment in our police department, but it's certainly a big investment in our community. Again, I want to say thank you to Motorola Solutions. Yonkers remains one of the safest cities of its size in all of America, and what better time for us to announce this is during Police Week, as we pay tribute to our police officers who go out there each and every single day to provide for the safety of our community. This Aware Room allows us to strengthen public safety and to give our police department innovative and modernized tools to help them fight crime and to keep our city safe. The Aware Room will help our department respond more efficiently and effectively to everyday emergencies by giving responders, anywhere from the 911 call takers to the command center staff, to give them a single view of an incident in real time as it unfolds. That is powerful for us to be able to do that. It brings together video, brings together software, and all the communications. Everything is happening all at once. And so this will enhance the quality of life for our residents, because it will be another way for us to keep our community safe as we move forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our police commissioner to say a few words. And again, thank you to Motorola. Thanks to the city council for funding this measure, and certainly thanks to the Yonkers Police Department, especially the men and women in blue who go out there to serve and protect us every single day. And it's good to see the brass here too. Commissioner.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to first thank the mayor for initiating and committing to this project. This is perfect timing with Police Week. I'm going to talk just a little bit about some of the things that the Aware Room can do and does. First and foremost, it's a force multiplier. We're in a world where we have to do more with less, and this allows us to have a little more omnipresence. It allows us to be efficient. It allows us to have a snapshot in real time of what's going on in the community. We also refer to the safety net. It's a safety net of license plate readers, cameras, and other devices. So basically, if you come into the city with the intention of committing a crime, we could track you the whole way through. We could, even if you get away with the crime, if you came back to the city, maybe we catch you later on, because we know any time a bad guy is entering in or out of our city. It's a very important tool. Precision policing. You know, we've come to the idea that we want to target the people that are most responsible for crimes. We don't want to harass civilians. We don't want to stop more people to make arrests. So in this case, the Aware Room helps us and contributes to our precision policing package. So when we know who the bad guys are, we know what cars they drive, we know how they got into the city, how they left the city, we start putting together a bigger picture. And it's not arbitrary. It's very important. It's the opposite of broken windows, right? In the past, broken windows, you just stop everyone.
In this case, we just focus on people and suspects, and we get the job done. It's proactive versus active. We had a case just a week or so ago where our detectives actually were looking at the aware room screen. Our aware room people were looking at the screen and watched the crime unfold right before their eyes. And they were able to get the police there in far less time than if you call the police and if they were dispatched. And that's the whole idea here. The system is actually, we'll go into more specifics of the system, but it could actually detect anomalies on its own. Large groups of people, guns being fired, anything that might be out of place. And it's kind of genned in a way where it notices things that are out of place. You know, there's been a whole progression of policing over the years. It started with people on, police officers on foot posts. Then that later on, you know, the radio came around, and the radio allowed us to be in more places at once. And then cars came along, and then it was, you know, radios and police cars, and then later on helicopters. So the more tools you have to be omnipresent, and the more tools you have to fight crime, the better. So with that, I want to introduce Dave White. He's the Regional Vice President of Motorola Solutions and our partner. And Dave?
Thank you, Commissioner. On behalf of Motorola Solutions, we'd like to thank certainly the Mayor and the Commissioner for their support. We've been partners with the City of Yonkers for decades. They've been a leader in technology, and this shows another leadership with the step that they're taking with the opening of this aware room. We couldn't be more proud of being on the signage and being part of this room. We know this technology is going to save lives. It's going to help the citizens of Yonkers and certainly the first responders. Commissioner mentioned it's so appropriate that this is Police Week. I'm very proud to be sponsors and part of that Police Week. So thank you again for your partnership. We appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, so what is the aware room, right? So the aware room takes all our technology, all our tools, all the information that's coming in from different data sources out there, and it's bringing it into one location, and we're seeing everything in real time in one place, and it gives us the ability to get information quicker and to get information out quicker and to be able to respond quicker to scenarios and incidents. And there's kind of two parts to that, right? So there's the technology. We have over 300 safety cameras and license plate reader technology devices in the city of Yonkers. I'm sure some of you have seen these cameras on utility poles. You've seen the devices out with over the red light signals, right? So all these devices are giving us information. It's sending us video information. It's sending us information about people's license plates, their registration status, and so forth. And that information is now going to be married with Motorola's Command Central Aware software, right? That's why we're calling this Aware Crime Control Center. So what the Aware software does is it takes all that information and it puts it on a map for us. So we have geospatial mapping. So when a camera picks something up or an LPR, license plate reader, picks something up, it focuses it on a map for us. You hear that little whooping noise behind me. If you look behind me, there's a monitor in the top there. That's an active map that every time you hear that noise, that's a license plate reader triggering an alert that there's an event being recognized, be it a suspended registration or possibly suspicious vehicle or even a stolen car. So all that information is being generated and it's being given to the officers who will be working in this room, right? So what does that mean for the community? What does that mean for the police department? So we get all this information in. To the Commissioner's point, he used a very good example. It's a force multiplier. So right now we have approximately 20 police cars on the road. With these cameras, with these LPRs, it's no longer 20 police officers, it's 320 police officers, right? And those cameras are being monitored in a room here, which brings us to the first thing I wanted to show you. So is it possible for 1 or 2 or 3 police officers to monitor 300 cameras? Absolutely not, right? It's information overkill. If you look at the screen on the left behind me, you'll see that there's dozens of cameras posted up there. If you tried to sit and focus on those cameras, you wouldn't be able to. You would lose your span of attention of each camera, right? And that's where the technology comes in. So using artificial intelligence in a good way, right? We are leveraging that technology to tell us when something has to be brought to our attention. So how does that work? So these new cameras, this software system is intelligent, and it is able to determine after a period of time what is normal in a certain frame and what is not normal, what is unique or what's remarkable. And when it senses something is out of place, it'll tell us, hey, police officer, you might want to look at this. You might want to check something out. Something's not normal here. So just a very simple example. A safety camera that's in a certain part of the city of Yonkers may recognize that between the hours of 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., I only see 2 cars on this block, right? But now, if it recognizes 10 cars on the block in the same time frame, it may trigger an alert to bring it to our attention, hey, you may need to look at what's going on over here because something is unique, something is remarkable, right? And that's the way we're leveraging AI technology in that respect. But it's also important, I point out, that these are tools that we utilize, right? It's not making decisions for us. The decisions are being left up to the police officers. The decisions are being left up to the humans. So I don't know what's easier for you, if you want me to walk you around the room or if you just want me to point stuff out that's happening. So like if you look on that far left there, right, you'll see some cameras have a turquoise bounding box over certain objects, right? So if you look, for example, on the screen on the right, and then once we're done speaking, feel free to walk around and you can take as much B-roll and video as you want. So you can see on some of these screens, you see these bounding boxes. That's telling us that the AI is actively capturing that image and it's being fed into the computer system, and it's letting us know that if we ever needed to run an analysis against that image, we can, right? And if it recognizes that something is abnormal or something is unique to that scenario, it'll trigger an alert and tell us, hey, you guys should pay attention to what's going on here. And that's how we have the ability to monitor so many cameras, right? So the other important piece of technology that's in this room is our LPR technology, our license plate reader technology. So what you may or may not be familiar with license plate readers, right? In order to have a car in the state of New York, right, you have to be registered. And that information is all public data for the police department, and when you drive through a certain point, we have the ability to capture that on public roads, right? None of this is happening in private spaces or in the privacy of your own home. This is only happening on public roads. We capture that license plate reader, that license plate information, and we immediately run it against our database, right? And that lets us know, is this a wanted vehicle? Is this a stolen vehicle? Is there something going on with this vehicle? And now, why is that important? Going back to the safety the net that the commissioner was referring to, we know in the city of Yonkers, a lot of our crime is not committed by residents, right? A lot of our crime, and I'll use catalytic converters as an example, we know that people are coming from outside our area, outside our jurisdiction, to commit crimes here. We also know they're not walking here, they're driving here, right? So when we have an incident or a series of events related to catalytic converter theft, for example, we may not catch him that night, right? We'll wake up the next day and we'll get reports of a catalytic converter being stolen. But what we'll do, and what the officers in this room will do in the Crime Control Strategies Unit, is they'll go through that video from the night before, and they'll see a car. And then using that car, they can tell the computer, hey, do me a favor, show me other cars that look like this car. And then the computer, using AI technology, can do what's called an appearance search and identify other cars that look like that car. And then we take it a step further. Hey, show me if cars that look like this car went through any of our LPR readers. And then it can tell you, yes, in fact, this car went through this LPR at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now you have his license plate reader information. Now we know who the registered owner is. Now we have that, and that's how the investigation starts. But more importantly, we can flag that license plate. So the next time it comes into the city, we get the audible alert, right, and we get an email notification that goes out to all our police officers that says, hey, beware, a car suspected of catalytic converter theft has just crossed into the city of Yonkers at Bronx River Road and Yonkers Avenue, for example. Be on the alert. And our police officers will then go canvass for that vehicle, and if they find that vehicle, they'll take an enforcement action. And that's one of the reasons why we have been so successful in that type of enforcement. Now extrapolate that, right? It's not just catalytic converter thefts. It's other types of violence. It's property thefts. It's gang violence. It's domestic incidents, right? There is so much information out there, be it license plates, be it cell phones, be it all these different things. And what this technology now does, it lets us leverage all these cameras, leverage all these tools, put them together in one room, right? Run data analytics against them, and lets us really laser focus on who our problems are, who the bad guys are, and then we go after them. And 99 times out of 100, the majority of the people in the community don't even see it, don't even know what's going on. And that's what we want, right? We want to address these problems in a safe way and in a way that's not impacting everybody else that, that we're with, right? So that's just two examples of what's going on here. If you look over to the far right screen over there, you'll see other monitors with displays. The one on the left is an example of active license plate reader hits in the region. The middle display is our active hits here in the city of Yonkers. The screen on the right is incidents that occur in real time. So for example, once our new computer-aided dispatch system is in place, which is going to happen in the near future, and Sam, I might ask you to actually do a once all our technology is built out, ultimately the goal is when somebody calls 911 and reports a crime incident in the city of Yonkers, as soon as our 911 dispatchers enter that information into the computer, it will trigger an alert in this room, and that alert will automatically activate all the cameras in that area and bring up all relevant information about that incident instantaneously, right? And ultimately that's the goal. And what does that do for us? What does that do for public safety? It lightning speed the amount of information that we get in an instant, and it gives us the ability to then give that information to the police officer on the street. Because right now, what happens? Somebody calls 911, they talk to another human, they report a crime, that crime gets entered in, and then it gets dispatched out by voice. The reality is when somebody calls 911, especially if it's from a cell phone, there may be anywhere between 3 to a 7-minute delay before the police on the street gets the information and gets out there. With this technology, we're hoping to cut that in half. And that's ultimately the goal. Now, I can stand here and talk about all these different technologies all day long, but I think probably what's best to do is, Sam, does anyone want to see a demonstration of how any of the cameras work or how any of the other items work? I'm more than happy to put anything on display for you. I know your cameras are set up over there, so you let me know what's easy for you.
Maybe we walk around a little bit.
You want to walk around a little bit?
Take
Sure.
a question now or later?
Yeah, no, do your questions now.
Now, a lot of people in Yonkers are asking for more police on streets.
Yes.
With this new technology and the duplifying force, reducing reaction, does that mean that on the long term we're going to have less police officers on the street?
You want me to address this, or?
I'll address
Okay.
it. No, there's nothing to suggest we will ever be able to have less police officers on the street, but what we're saying is that there are less police officers on the street. So given the fact that we are already doing more with less, this is another tool to help us, and again I'll use that term, helps us to be a force multiplier. And we're able to use technology as a tool to get the job done.
Yeah. My point is, the fact that we don't see as many cars going around does not mean that you don't have an eye on the neighborhoods that
No, and we're not pulling people off of the streets. We're not pulling people off of patrol to perform these functions. These are jobs specifically geared towards this technology.
Thank you, sir.
And don't forget, the city council put additional 10 police officers in the budget last year, so we actually have more police officers in Yonkers than we've had in a very long time.
I wasn't referring to now.
Right, but this is just taking technology and enhancing their job and making it essentially easier for them to get the job done.
Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner, is Yonkers still committed to the real-time crime center at the county?
We are, and it's important to note this does not compete with the Real-Time Crime Center, which is also another fantastic tool. We like using the Real-Time Crime Center, and we like working with our partners. This gives us something locally. That's on the county level. This is on the city level. So now we have our own technology locally and in-house that we could use immediately.
Can they access your technology?
Absolutely. We share all our technology with them as needed.
I would also like to add that I believe, just correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we are the first agency in the region to deploy this degree of unified technology using the Motorola Aware software. So it is a first. It is a first for us, and it's a first in the area.
Facial recognition is not implemented yet, my understanding, correct?
So we have facial recognition technology. We are not actively implementing it yet, because to the Commissioner's credit and to the Mayor's credit, we are working on very strict policies and procedures in place to make sure that if and when we do implement it, it's being done the right way. And I'm glad you brought that up, right? Because we're talking about AI, we're talking about facial recognition technology. These are all tools, right? These are all tools to help us to do our job better. It's not making the decisions for us. And I know facial recognition technology sometimes has a negative connotation, especially in the press. But you also have to remember, these tools, all the technology that's in here, is ultimately designed to help people. So when you're thinking of apprehending a suspect, also think about locating a missing child, or locating a missing person, or doing a search for for an elderly individual who's a vulnerable member of dementia or something like that. So that's what all these tools will be used for. We also have the ability, and we'll show you an example on one of these computers here.
Does it detect also these fake plates, the paper plates?
So the license plate reader technology can tell us if a registration is invalid or not invalid, correct. Sometimes, depending on how lousy of a reproduction the paper plate is, it might not get picked up by the camera, but that's why we always have police officers patrolling our area too. But we can also show you an example with the appearance searching, how we're able to not just faces, but clothing, vehicles, and we can tell the computer, we can ask the artificial intelligence, hey, tell us, how many examples of this can you locate on our network? And it'll say, with a certain degree of probability, right, high probability to low probability, maybe this is what you're looking for. But at the end of the day, it is a police officer that's it's a member of this department that's making the decision, and it's going to be within our policies and procedures.
In regards to, you brought up facial recognition. Yeah, we are very intentionally moving very slow on that, because we want to make sure that we protect the privacy rights of people in our community. So that'll be our first priority. And how do we do that at the same time? Figure out a way to, to get the senior citizen who has dementia left the house, or the kid, or the bad guy, right? And so that's why that policy is something we can't rush into. We're going to take it nice and slow and make sure we have the right policy in place before we implement such a thing.
Any more questions, or do you want to see some demos, walk around and get some demos?
Yeah, demos sound great.
Perfect, thank you.
So now let me show you the room so you have an idea of what is this outside. You're not doing the presentation here? You're not doing that presentation?
Yeah, we are. Whenever you guys are ready, once we clear this area, then we're going to run through some scenarios.
As you guys can see, there is multiple cameras. There is about 200 or so cameras all over the city, but there, the board there only shows a certain amount. The cameras will flip as the officers decide of where they want to look at.
So, yeah, I don't know if So just to give you an example, I don't know if you wanted to catch this, or if I'll wait for the other cameras to do that.
Too noisy, too.
Huh?
Too noisy right now.
Too noisy?
Right now, yeah. I don't have you mic'd up. Social people out here. Colleen is hosting a fundraiser for Peter's office.
I want to have her. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
So maybe as an example, can you? So maybe as an example, can you pull up, say for example, the Element Oak Street camera full screen, right? So take a look at this monitor over here, right? So I just to give you an example of the clarity of this monitor, right? So this is the camera that's at Element Linden Street, right? Do a small box on one of the bodega signs. Just a very small one, right there. Yeah? Just give you an idea as to the degree of clarity, right? Zoom into the Kit Kat. So just to give you an idea of how sharp and the clarity of these cameras are, and then pull back straight out. right? So a lot of these cameras have point-to-zoom technology, and you can see they resolve very clearly from a very good distance. So we're capturing very detailed information, which is important when it comes to capturing accurate descriptions of people, right? So less room for error, less chance we're going to make a mistake. Point it up towards Elm Street, for example. And then zoom as far as you can go up there. Draw a box on those cars. Right, so those of you familiar with the area, right, you're going from Linden now to Oak Street, and you know, it's a couple of hundred feet of distance, and you can see the cameras are very sharp in their accuracy, right?
So if you guys are interested in that red car, how long does it take you to read the plate and get the information back?
Just as long as it took you to say that. Just as long as it took you to say that. Now, for example, now if you want to pan over here, do you have Learn up and available? Okay, so why don't you show them an example of an appearance search?
I'll do that through.
Sure. Okay. So what he's going to show you right now is using an example of what you were talking about before, about some of the AI technology. So pick a random car, and I'll ask the computer to search for random cars like that.
So look for this red car right here.
So what it does, it's literally just taking that image of a red car, and now it's bringing you all similar images of that car, and then it also tells us the date, time, location, and then we can also connect that to our LPR system and find out where in the area that car has been located.
Lieutenant?
Yes.
In Yonkers, when you do a search,
Yes, in
it's a
Yonkers.
local search.
Yes, it's a local search. But I'm going to add to that. So through Motorola, we also have our license plate reader technology is part of a larger nationwide database. So if there's probable cause for a crime vehicle, we can search a car across the entire country. Now, why is that useful? Think of this for an example. Let's say somebody comes to Yonkers and commits a violent crime, right? And we take his license plate, and we know his license plate, and we put it into the LPR system. The LPR system will tell us where he's been in the city. What it can also tell us is, by the way, he's also gotten about 20 parking tickets in Queens. And what does that tell us? It tells us that maybe he puts his, he sleeps most of his nights in this area in Queens. And now that gives us a location to go start if, for example, his registration came back to another area. So what all this is this, right, this is information. This is information gathering. We have information coming in from all these different sources. And all this information combined, and with AI technology and the ability to have access to it to our fingertips, it really allows us to find what we're looking for efficiently and effectively, and allows us to direct our resources to go after the people who are committing crime in our city. And it's all about public safety. Do you have any plates you can put in the LPR system right now?
Yeah, just for the
Yeah.
you can learn right now.
Yeah, I'll give you an example.
Film that?
Huh? Yeah, so, well, I'll tell you what. Who's willing to give me the license plate? I see, no. He knew better.
I'll give you mine.
All right.
NYP 6776.
All right, throw them in there.
Legally parked. I'm giving it
You're going to get there and get a red ticket.
I'm warning you. But I had to make this thing here.
Oh, it's a press plate, right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, found it?
He's getting his bags already.
I'm leaving. I'm balling. Where is that guy? Where is he? Can't find him, huh?
I might have triggered an internal alarm running a press plate. I don't know. Why are the cops running press?
Tucked it away, nice. Can't find me, can you?
That'd be a
It's
lot.
that road up on the hill.
You might have so many.
No, it's right like where the police cars park. So it looks like that.
I wonder if the New York press plate probably has different characters in it. What's your plate?
JPG 2932, I think.
That's no good.
And what kind of car is it?
A
It's a
Honda.
red car.
Okay, so for example now, right, you see that map that just came up? It pinpointed. Were you out in Suffolk County at all?
No,
Oh,
That might not be your plate.
what were you doing there?
JPG 2932?
I think.
Uh-oh. Oh, well, all right. All right.
Listen, you guys opening up Pandora's box.
George William David 1239. See, now we just ran some guy's plate for you. See that?
Yeah, well, you didn't tell me the location.
Okay, that's okay.
Yes, should be Tahoe.
It should be Tahoe, correct?
Yep.
Okay, so for example, the gentleman from ESS, by the way, ESS is one of our partners in this project. This gentleman right here, so you can see where his vehicle has hit all over the state of New York and in New Jersey and in surrounding jurisdictions using this technology. So can you zoom into one of those locations? And then click on one. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
I might ask you for an audit section. Right? So I'm actually glad you're seeing this portion of it too, because, all right, so now, so if you see, not only does it record the license plate, it also records an image of the truck as well. So we have an image of the vehicle, we have the license plate, we have the date, time, location. And again, all this does is provides us information that becomes part of our investigation in the search for criminals.
Terrific.
You'd be working for Motorola, aren't you?
So I do want to show you the Aware system, because that's actually what I think is probably the coolest part. Right. So, okay. All right, and then I'm getting funny looks in the room, so I think this is the end of it. So Sam, do you mind introducing yourself and doing a demo for them?
Sure.
Okay.
So I'm Sam Rabati. I'm with Motorola Solutions. I'm with our public safety team. So essentially, as the lieutenant was speaking about earlier, what this system is, we refer to this as Command Central Aware, and what it's doing is it's taking multiple data sources as well as video sources and basically marrying it up with their computer-aided dispatch system. What you see here is a flow of information that's coming in from 911 calls, from different types of alarms. It could be LPR hits. It could be something that the video cameras are picking up. And it's taking that information and it immediately displays it on the map, depending on the level of importance. The police department determines this is a minor traffic accident versus an armed robbery. It gives it a level of priority and it places it on the map. And depending on the rules engine and the artificial intelligence that's built into here, it'll do a number of different things, like, for example, pull up the closest video camera to that incident. What you see here is footage from a drone. And the police department is going to be doing a pilot program utilizing drones as a first responder later on in the summer. That's going to be an important piece and an important function as to what occurs here in the Aware room. But let me show you some other examples of how they're going to be utilizing this. So let's take a call that comes in, an armed robbery call, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk through this manually. Keep in mind, the artificial intelligence does this automatically on its own. But let's walk through it. So an armed robbery call comes in.
And this is our goal. This is what we're going to have in the very near future.
So an armed robbery call comes in, and because that's considered very high priority, it's automatically going to center that call. I can immediately see on the map here that there are a number of video cameras that are nearby. It's going to automatically, because it's a high priority call, it's going to automatically open up those cameras. Up to 16 cameras that they can pull in. And depending on the location of the incident, it's going to pull up those nearest cameras to that incident. So in other words, what the system is doing is giving the police officers that are assigned into this room immediate eyes on the scene so that they can relay this information to the officers who are responding to the incident. This all occurs within a matter of seconds rather than minutes as the call is coming in through dispatch.
Yeah, and it's very helpful to us because oftentimes, just by human nature, sometimes the initial reports, right, the initial descriptions are sometimes wrong, right? Somebody, hears a backfire, calls in a shots fired, or vice versa. Having immediate access to surveillance cameras, to safety cameras in the area, we have the accurate information instantaneously.
Let's take another call. What was mentioned earlier, also the protection and the safety of the officers is paramount. So as you may be aware, Yonkers Police Department within the last year or so went to the body-worn cameras for all of their police officers. In addition, later in the future, they will be installing in-car videos. So let's take an incident in which an officer has an emergency type of situation. Through Aware, what they're going to have the ability to do is, based on that emergency signal, immediately center it on the map. On the map, I can see where my nearest police units are. I can see there's also cameras here, not just from body-worns, but also nearby building cameras. And what it's going to do, based on that emergency signal, it's going to automatically pull in the feed from the vehicle. It's going to pull up the feed from nearby buildings that have a partnership with the police department. And also footage from, this is a backup unit coming to assist that officer from the body-worn camera, as well as from the vehicle. And you can see here, so this way, officers and supervisors in the Aware room have immediate eyes on the scene to know what's going on with that officer.
So again, think of all the different data sources, information. Think of all the devices you have in your own lives, right? Cell phones, TVs, Fire sticks, all these different things. Imagine if you had the ability for all these electronic devices, all these connected devices, to have all that data feed into one place, and you can act on it, right? And act on it for the benefit of public safety, and that's what we're doing. We're taking all that electronic information that lives out in the world, and we're centralizing it here, and we're doing good with it.
Thank you.
Is this already in effect on the streets of Yonkers?
Everything that you've heard today is in effect, except for this active mapping portion, and the reason why is in order for that to work, we're still upgrading what's called our computer-aided dispatch system. That's the technology that our 911 operators use. Until that's complete, this portion of it won't be active, because the 911 portion is the most important portion, right? And we have to make sure that we get that right beyond 100% positive. So that takes a little time to build out.
Now, I was on technology, field before. Things sometimes work in one way in a lab situation,
Yeah.
but differently in real-time situation.
Yes.
How would you rank it?
Well, I think that's the difference. When you take like a department like us in the city of Yonkers, but you partner with a multi-global agency like Motorola, right? So we have the backing of their resources, making sure that this gets done right. Are mistakes going to happen during rollout? Sure. Are things not going to work the way that we expect them to work? Sure. But those kinks always get worked out. But from what we have today, it works exactly the way that it's supposed to work. And if we don't like something, we ask for it to be fixed, we ask for it to be changed, and it's an ongoing working partnership. Not just with Motorola, but internally too, right? 10 years ago you were using a flip phone. Now you're using a smartphone. 10 years from now you'll be using something else. So we're constantly upgrading and enhancing our technology.
Dean, do you want to run through this example?
Yeah, so this is a quick, just visual example the commissioner is talking about. Our safety circle, Safety net. Safety net. Somebody else mentioned safety circle earlier. Safety net. So this is just a visual representation of some of our license plate readers that are out there, right? If somebody comes into the city of Yonkers in a vehicle, for all intents and purposes, we know who that vehicle belongs to, or if that vehicle is wanted or suspect or anything like that. And it's important because, like I said earlier, we know a lot of our bad actors come from outside the city, right? And this is our, think of it like a barrier almost, where, once you cross, into our jurisdiction, we'll know, if anyone is flagged or if there's an alarm or anything like that. So anyone who tries to come to our city as a known bad actor, it's going to alert us and it's going to tell us, right? So, it's not just one camera here, one camera there. There are cameras there are license plate readers in all the points of entry and exit in the city. in the city. And that's to benefit our residents, right? To make sure that no one's coming in the middle of the night to steal a catalytic converter, to break into their car, to break into their home, or even worse, to engage in, in serious violence. And that's a general summary, as to what the abilities of this room are. Obviously, if there's any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer them for you. No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
I actually have one question.
Yes,
And maybe I missed it earlier. What's the resolution on these cameras?
So I guess it depends how far you zoomed in, right? But they're all 1080p cameras. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah, they're all 1080p.
4K or?
Honestly, I don't know if we have any 4K cameras up. I don't think so. But you have to remember, it's also married with the existing AI technology for the analytics. So I don't believe, and maybe one of the real technical people can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe you want to run analytics with 4K technology. It's just the resolution is too much. You would really start. You know what I mean? You want this to be